Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 4. Today is Thursday, May 9th, 2013 on Darko. Alright, we left off with this article, Purity Culture, Bad for Women and Worse for Survivors of Sexual Assault. You can go there and check it out. A teacher who posted graphic safe sex pamphlets in 7th to 8th classroom had good intentions, says school board. After a 7th to 8th grade teacher in Toronto posted graphic safe sex pamphlets in his classroom, at least one of which was originally designed for mature venues like gay bathhouses, the Toronto District Court School Board has put him on home assignment but defended the teacher for having good intentions. They were put up by the teacher in an attempt to speak more directly to youth on what's a sensitive topic. Remember, this is up in Toronto too. I think was the one that had a website that was doing all that crazy sex ed, saying that it's okay, you're born this way. Who knows? Maybe you're not straight. Maybe you are homosexual. Maybe you're a transgender. I don't know. Explore. Use a cucumber for masturbation. I mean, this is stuff that they had for elementary students that they tried pushing. When people saw it, their light was shed on it. They were like, "Oh crap!" And then they said they kind of pulled back a little bit. But remember, we just covered about a week and a half ago about the teacher that basically beat up a student and started masturbating in front of students. So this is the new norm. I mean, not every day, every school, but you'll see more and more of this as the blowback, as I call it, from the social engineering occurs. The pamphlets depicted two men apparently engaged in a sex act and gives explicit advice on oral sex. So it was produced by the AIDS Committee of Toronto. Other pamphlets in the classroom reportedly included an ad for female condoms and a morning after pill. Going back to this article, the purity culture, how it's bad for women, she says abstinence-only education is just one example of our bizarre relationship with sex, which can be seen most clearly in the way that we treat women. Women and girls being sexy for someone else is more or less okay as long as no actual sex occurs. So, but it goes on here. It says the more extreme versions of our collective obsessions are seen in conservative Christian churches, which offer purity rings and all that stuff about virginity as a gift to husbands. The idea that sexual activity damages women and makes them lose their value was articulated by Smart. So you can go there and check it out. Some pretty hardcore feminist crap that she got going on there. Judge gives blessing to cheerleaders' Bible banners, but only if school district approves. Says the high school cheerleading squad can display their Bible-thumping banners at games, assuming the school district allows it. So the state district judge ruled yesterday, concluding that putting Christian messages on banners at public school sporting events did constitute a violation of the First Amendment of Establishment Clause, which forbids the government from backing any given religion. It says they're going to be able to have their banners, says an attorney. But it goes on and says the lawyer for the Texas School District noted that the judge ruling recognized the banners at the school's speech, not the students, meaning that the district still has the right to prohibit the banners on or restrict their content. The Freedom from Religion Foundation and the Anti-Defamation League decried the ruling, with the latter saying that it flies in the face of clear U.S. Supreme Court rulings. Arkansas school cancels entire graduation after being asked not to pray. The school district in Arkansas has decided to completely cancel 6th grade graduation ceremonies after some parents asked that Christian prayers not be included. So the school made the decision after being contacted by a parent and receiving a letter from the ACLU. And this is from Raw's story, so it's more left-leaning. And you read in the comments, they're pretty predictable. Religion trumps education. They don't call the South backwards for no reason. To me, I don't think education is really all that important. I mean, it may be now as things get more technical, but it's if you can keep up, you're all good. But fuck everybody else. If you can't keep up or you don't want to go to, achieve a postdoctorate or something like that, and you just want to try to get by, machines will replace you. Computers will replace you. More efficient slaves, such as these people, will replace you. So that's why they say, it's a brave new world. You got to try to keep up. Religion trumps education. Well, it's not so much religion as it is just spirituality and belief in God. Going back to this lady, and all those other different articles we were covering, when they criticize the church about certain things, and it's just like, well, I think it's just more about just knowing what's wrong, at least admitting that, hey, I do it too, but at least I consider, at least it's wrong, you don't just say, well, you never know, it could be right, it could be wrong, whatever. And you'll see people go on these comment boards about separation of church and state and all that, which is great and everything. You don't want a theocracy or anything, but at the same time, well, I mean, maybe you do, I don't know. But either way, I think it was more about just not having a theocracy. I mean, if a town that's majority of Christians send their kids to public school that they're paying for through taxes, and they want to do something like that, then they should be allowed to do it. Why is it that some minority, whether it's a homosexual, whether it's transgender, got to change their bathrooms, got to change this, got to change that, going to have a woman, a girl, first girl on the football team, let her play, the Atheist League, these minority groups that are overrepresented everywhere. Suicide rates soar among middle-aged U.S. adults. A new report by the CDC has revealed that suicide rates among middle-aged Americans have increased during the recent decades. So if they're starting to wake up and they see what their future looks like, then that wouldn't be too surprising. It says here adults between 35 and 64 and both white people and American Indians jumped from nearly 14 per 100,000 people in 1999 to almost 18 in 2010, the CDC reported. So it said here middle-aged people went up 57%, American Indians increased 65%, 40% for white people, and it goes on here and it says that it was substantially higher for unmarried than for married people. It also stressed that there was little change in the rate among middle-aged African Americans and Hispanics. Human takeover by machines may be closer than we think. It says, are you prepared to meet your robot overlords? The idea of super intelligent machines may sound like the plot of a Terminator or The Matrix, but many experts say the idea isn't far-fetched. Some even think the singularity, the point at which artificial intelligence can match and then overtake human smarts, may have happened in might just happen in 16 years. So it starts off by saying some believe in a utopian future where humans can transcend their physical limitations with the aid of machines. But others think that humans will eventually relinquish most of their abilities and gradually become absorbed into the AI-based organisms. Remember that you had that one Russian guy that promoted this stuff that's saying that it's going to go badly for humans. So, how the CIA tried to turn a cat into a cyborg spy. In the 60s, CIA recruited an unusual field agent, a cat. An hour-long procedure. A veterinary surgeon transformed the furry feline into an elite spy, implanting a microphone in her ear canal and a small radio transmitter at the base of her skull, and weaving a thin wire antenna into her long gray and white fur. It was called Operation Acoustic Kitty, a top-secret plan to turn a cat into a living, walking surveillance machine. The leaders of the project hoped that by training the feline to go sit near foreign officials, they could eavesdrop on private conversations. So it's funny because a few places I lived before, I used to joke about how this one cat that my roommate had was a spy cat. I called him the little spy cat. And he used to literally follow me and my dog as we walked around and did our daily walks around the neighborhood. There'd be a cat following us. And he'd have like this little, look like grease that came out of his eyes. Almost like, I was like, oh, it's a camera grease or something, There's little ears with like little microphones. So I'm not saying that's what it was, but it's kind of funny that they actually do think about stuff like that. Trust in government, Obama approval slips. So Obama's re-election glow is gone. Congress's reputation remains dismal. I don't know if it was ever actually good, and only about 1 in 5 Americans say they trust the government to do what is right most of the time, says the AP poll. Americans trust local governments most. A new poll finds voters trust local government officials to address the issues that matter to them over state and federal government entities, according to the results of the new Mason-Dixon poll. Local governments are trusted to address the issues that are critical to everyday lives of Americans. Then we have Obama to graduates reject voices that warn about government tyranny. This is, I guess, what he said. Unfortunately, you've grown up hearing voices that incessantly warn of government as nothing more than some separate, sinister entity that's at the root of all of our problems. Some of these same voices also do their best to gum up the works. They'll warn that tyranny is always lurking just around the corner. You should just reject these voices because what they suggest is that our brave and creative and unique experiment in self-rule is somehow just a sham with which we can't be trusted. Interesting that he uses the word self-rule because, the individuals he's talking about are people that are self-governed, or at least try to be self-governed. United States of insanity. Government gunmen burst into school and spray blanks at teachers in mock massacres. From the Oregonian. Two masked men wearing hoodies and wielding handguns bursted into the Pine Eagle Charter School in a tiny rural community on Friday. The students were at home for an in-service day, so the gunmen headed into a meeting room full of teachers and opened fire. So it goes on there, says that a few seconds after the bullets were not drawing blood because they were blanks, and the exercise was a drill designed to test the school's preparation for an assault by an active shooter. Said in reality, they were members of the school staff, but those few seconds left everybody plenty scared. So this is the trauma-based programming. It's good stuff. Suspension for boy who helped pencil like gun. So in Virginia, Suffolk, Virginia elementary schools has been suspended for holding his pencil like a gun, pretending he was a Marine, just like his father. So good job. It's a good job overreacting. A pencil is a weapon when it's pointed at someone in a threatening way, and gun noises are made, said Bethany Bradshaw, spokesman for the Suffolk Public Schools, in a statement. Arrest first, ask questions later, how dawn raids and ransacking houses became standard operating procedure. So I guess his life's been turned upside down over allegations of sexual assault, but it says as yet he still hasn't been charged with anything. That is part of a trend which first became apparent when they started rounding up journalists in the phone hacking inquiry. Dawn raids and ransacking houses became the standard operating procedure. It says the reason police now arrest people first as a matter of course is that it spares them the inconvenience of having to apply to a magistrate for a search warrant. This allows them to go on fishing expeditions in search of incriminating evidence. A U.S. judge receives 28-year jail term for his role in Kids for Cash kickbacks. So this Mark Civarella Jr. ordered to pay $1.2 million in restitution after he was found to be a figurehead in a conspiracy. So, for conspiring with private prisons to hand young offenders maximum sentences in return for kickbacks amounting to millions of dollars. Kids for Cash. That's what it's about. It's about incriminating, getting them in the system, young people, students, and all that. All right, next up we have police. Teen arrested after housekeeper finds explosive device in room. So, again, I think it's a little bit of overreacting, but it says here he was arrested, an 18-year-old, after a housekeeper found a suspicious device while cleaning the room in Arizona. So, I guess the cleaning lady or whatever actually walked it over to the police station. Yeah, so people are calling them pipe bombs in the thing. It says, man, I grew up in the 70s. I'm glad I grew up in the 70s. We used to make explosive stuffs out of fireworks every summer just to blow some stuff up in the woods. Today I'd be arrested. So other person says, oh boy, this stuff I did as a kid, if it were nowadays, they'd lock me up forever. So next up we have Nazi hunters. They'll go after the people like this, but they won't go after people that they already are aware of, like the recent bombers and stuff like that. They're trained in the Jamestown Foundation, whatever. Basically CIA linked. It's kind of like a think tank. It trains people like this to radicalize them into terrorists that actually do carry out attacks. But this is what it's all about. They go after people that try to speak up about stuff like this. Nazi hunters call on Twitter to crack down on terrorists. So a Nazi hunting group has urged Twitter and other social media to step up efforts to remove online hate speech. That I think I'd be under that yoke as hate speech, citing a surge in incitement to attacks like the recent bombings. Simon Wiesenthal Center said Twitter has spawned nearly 20,000 hashtags and handles this year that are linked to terrorism extremism, up 30% in the past year. So how does that make you feel, guys? It says, when you subscribe to GGN, I'm recruiting terrorists. You've just been recruited to a terrorist organization. I mean, that's eventually how they'll see it, if they don't already. The proliferation of terrorist tutorials and the abuse of social media, such as Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube, and online forums by extremists portend that future lone wolf attacks here and abroad are inevitable. Time CNN poll shows increasing number of Americans won't give up civil liberties to fight terrorism. 61% said it's a vast improvement over 1996 when post-Atlanta Olympic bombings poll showed only 23% opposed giving up freedom in exchange for fighting terrorism. It says drone strikes are fueling hatred of the United States, says researchers. Finishing up, we have Air Force sidelines 17 nuclear missile officers. Commander cites rot in the system. saying there was an attitude problem, but telling Congress that the weapons were secure. I think this is part of the kind of a hidden war that's going on inside the military. Who's going to fire on American citizens? Who's going to launch nuclear weapons? So remember the Nun, 83, and 2 other activists guilty of intent to injure national security and nuclear complex. So she tested the system, proved the weaknesses, and is punished for it. Thank you.